Hello, crafters. It's another Thursday, and here we are running with scissors again. So glad to see so many of you popping into the stream and getting ready to get your craft on with me today. We are exploring Sparkle and Shine all month long. And actually, this is the last class for this month. Next week is Thanksgiving here in the United States, so I'll be taking a break. And then the week after that, actually, I will be on another break. I will be out of town, so we will skip 2 weeks in a row, but then we'll come back for another couple of weeks before the end of the year. So, you know, it'll be a nice, chill couple of weeks here, and we will have a really great time. So, can you guys let me know if you can hear me okay? I'm getting a little error message about the volume, and I want to make sure that I'm okay. So, as far as I know, I think things are good, but it might just be trying to catch up. So let me know if my audio sounds okay. If I sound quiet, let me know. I'm good. Okay, thank you, Cece. I appreciate it. I know it takes you guys a minute to type that in for me, so just have to kind of hold for a minute. Thank you, guys. It's always disconcerting when the technology says, hey, there's something wrong, and there's nothing wrong. But, you know, anyway, oh, Anne, you're so sweet. She says she will miss me so much for the next couple of weeks. Yeah. Absence makes the heart grow fonder, I guess. So, you know, spend some time with the family. Do all of the great things that you need to do over the next couple of weeks to get ready for the holidays. We are, oh, Nancy says I'm fuzzy looking. Well, I'm pretty sure my hands will be looking okay. The zoom on here is a little slow sometimes. So anyway, yeah, we're rushing to the end of the year. Things are going crazy as far as sales going on with all of the crafty stores and all that kind of stuff. So if you are looking for good sales, be sure to check out my crafty sales page and check on any updates there before you do some shopping. So that way you know about all the great specials and deals going on at all of your favorite craft stores. Of course, you know, we're getting into Black Friday, which is next Friday here in the States, and all sorts of sales are starting to pop up early. And you know those are going to go through like the first couple of weeks of December and probably even into December. So this is a great time to do some shopping for yourself. Maybe you'll get a couple bucks for the holidays and you want to spend it on some craft supplies. That's always a great thing to do. Anyway, all right. So, oh, and some love to our friend Ann Taylor. She's got her broken foot right now, and she's got shingles. It's just crazy. Healing vibes to you, Anne. I hope the next couple of weeks get you on the mend quickly. We want you to be able to go out on your motorcycle in the spring. All right. So let's announcements. Some announcements. Everything's the same. Nothing new here. Just a reminder about the dates for the end of the year. The Bloom Technique Library membership is open and enrolling. So if you've been looking for some awesome content from me, you love the techniques that I share on YouTube, you will love the Technique Library even more. You get great techniques every week. You get a technique resource sheet that you can print out to create your own technique binder. Everything published on the Technique Library is done well in advance of anything that I share out on YouTube, and even some of it isn't shared on YouTube. So it's a great idea to get on board with the Technique Library. The great thing I love about the Technique Library is my approach to it, and that is that I shared just the technique, not the project, so you can learn the technique without feeling like you have to create the project to get the same results. So it gives you an idea of how to use a technique and how to create it yourself, and then you can apply it to any and every project that you can think up. So that means that they are short videos, they're quick to learn. I film them real time, just like I do when I'm here, so you can see it step by step and not have to worry about, oh, did she skip something? Did she, speed through that? The video is real time. The action is all real. I only edit a tiny bit. Sometimes I edit out like the heat embossing, or like if I'm using the heat tool, you don't need to sit there and watch me heat something up for 20 minutes. It never takes that long, but you don't need to see it. So sometimes I will skip through those parts, but all of the important stuff is always in the videos. So they're really, really great reference for you. And I know folks in the Bloom community are also enjoying that, because that is a part of the Bloom community as well. So the Bloom community is not going to open until February. So if you are looking for something in the meantime, the Technique Library is a great place to hang out until the Bloom community opens up. All right. So I'm getting some kudos out in the chat. Thank you, Cece. I appreciate it. So good to see some other folks popping in. Erin, Susan. So glad to have you guys out there. If you're new to my channel and you feel so inclined, please do pop into the chat, say hello, and tell us all where you're from. All right, so let's see what else. If you are using those techniques and any of the projects that I create here, anything on my channel or my blog, or if you're in Bloom, if you're inspired by something that I've created, I would love for you to share. So don't forget to tag me out on Instagram if that's where you're at, and let me know how you were inspired by something that I've shared with you. I really do appreciate those shout outs, and I love to give love back. So I'll always leave a comment and share your projects with my community. So last thing, I really do always appreciate it when you shop using my affiliate links, which are down below in the description and as required by the FCC. I need to remind you that those are affiliate links, and I might receive a small commission at no additional cost to you, always no additional cost to you. It's an easy way for you to support me and other crafters out here in the blog sphere and in YouTube land and on Instagram and all that good stuff. All right, if you want to compensate me directly as a direct thank you for everything that I do, there is a link to the tip jar, and I totally appreciate that. Last week I got a tip that didn't update. I was supposed to show someone else. Last week I got a tip from, I think it was Linda. So thank you. And Erin, I'm always getting tips from you, so thanks anyway. Let's see. Anything else in the announcements? Nope, that's it. All right, so let's take a look at today's project. All right, here is today's project. I told you guys we weren't going to spend long on the holidays because you should already have your holiday ideas rolling, and we need to start thinking about going into the new year. So I thought a fun thank you card that is very gender neutral. This could go to anybody who maybe is into technology and stuff like that, because this is like a circuit background and it does sparkle and shine. So, guys would love this, girls will love this, anybody would really love this card. You can customize it to whatever color you want. I just happen to have a ton of this blue shimmer paper or metallic paper, foil paper, from an old project that I'm trying to use up, and I'm going to be using a lot of it in my Christmas cards, and I'm going to get it out of here, but I'm going to use it for this project today too. So this is a cool technique that I shared recently. This is the heat emboss, or the embossing paste on embossing folders. It's a really, really cool look. And then we're going to do some other embossing on here. So let's get started. Super fun. Super, super fun. And that's actually quite easy. So, and actually the first thing I kind of already have done, so that way I didn't have to walk away, but I do want to talk about something here. Okay, so the first thing that you need to do is do your embossing. And the embossing folder I used is this Texture Fades Circuit Embossing folder by Sizzix and Tim Holtz. Okay, so that's what it looks like in the packaging. But let me show you. This embossing folder is ridiculously thick, super thick. Okay, so I mean, like when I put it down on my board here, it's like a 1/4 inch thick. So It's really important now that there's lots of different kinds of embossing folders coming out that you know your embossing machine, your die cutting machine, and you know all the different plates that you have available and what works best for different types of embossing folders. So for this super, super thick embossing folder, my Gemini Junior says that I should use one of the acrylic plates and then the embossing folder with the paper inside. And then this plastic plate, not another acrylic plate, not anything else. You're supposed to use this plastic plate because it's much thinner and it's really just really serving as a shim to keep the whole thing going through properly. All right, but here's what I found. When I run it through with this sandwich, and let me show you the result. So I get this result. It looks great, but here, look. It is cutting through all the way, and it the edges go out of shape. All right, so that can happen sometimes with the 3D folders, like no matter what your sandwich is. So just know that with a 3D folder, your edges will more than likely go out of shape, and so you're going to want to start with a larger piece and then cut it down to the proper size so that it's nice and square when you're done. Okay, so that's two things that I noticed though with this particular sandwich, that it really is pressing through and it's breaking the paper. Okay, it doesn't really matter so much. I'm gonna put some embossing paste over it. It's gonna go flat onto my card base. I'm not really too concerned about this. I could always put washi tape on the back to hold it together. But in other instances, that might be an issue, right? So here's another one. And look at this one. It's not broken at all. So what I realized is that with my Gemini Junior, I keep a Sizzix plate. So this is the acrylic plate from Sizzix. And when I put these two together, the plate from Sizzix is just a little thinner than the plate from Crafter's Companion. All right, and I don't know that you guys can really see that. You can definitely tell when you've got them both in your hands live and in person. All right, so I always keep a Sizzix plate because it ends up being a little bit thinner and sometimes I get a better result. So what I realize I should try is dumping the Crafter's Companion plate. So I've got now the Sizzix plate, my embossing folder with paper, and the white plastic. And I ran that through, and this is the same result. So this is the result. It is great embossing. It might be just a hair shallower. Well, actually, it is a hair shallower because nothing broke. So experiment with your die cut machine. Grab yourself some plates from other companies and come up with your own sandwiches that work with the products that you have. All right, so just because it came with it doesn't mean that it's the perfect thing for it. As you see here, I'm using a Sizzix plate with my Gemini Junior and I'm getting a better result. Does that make sense? Hope you guys understood that. So bottom line, know your tools, experiment with things, try other things that you might have on hand, or even, if you're at the craft store and you see the Sizzix plates and you've got a Gemini Junior, grab yourself a set of Sizzix plates and see if they help. All right, and if they don't, find someone that has a Sizzix machine and gift them. Okay. All right. So there you go. Now we've got our piece embossed and ready to go. I cut it down to 4 by 5 1/4. And that's going to fit really nice on our card base. I've got 2 of them now, actually. And we're going to put some embossing paste on this. So this is where the technique comes into play. I can zoom in just a little bit. Yeah, so Nancy says when she started with her first 3D folders, she used vellum to get different shims. And that's a nice way to start too. So you figure out exactly how many pieces of vellum it is, and if it's thick enough, maybe you use a piece of cardboard instead or something like that. So yeah, and Anne says that she puts a note in with each folder so she remembers what sandwich she uses, which is another really good thing. Okay, so I've got my embossing paste here from Altenew. All right, and this is kind of a foamy embossing paste. When it dries, it kind of has a spongy, foamy consistency to it. So I put embossing pastes generally in 2 categories. You've got the foamy kind and the plasticky kind. Both work for this technique. So all I've got is my embossed image, and I'm going to just scrape my paste on top of this. Now, let me show you. I'm going to do a side view as well. Okay, so as I'm going, you don't want to do it thick so you're covering the whole thing up. You want to scrape across the top so that you can still see the imagery underneath. And you want it to, you know, scrape up enough on it that you can still see some of the shimmer if you're using a metallic paper or a glitter paper or something like that. And there you go. So you're actually, you know, putting it on there and then scraping off quite a bit. So let me show you here on the side so you can really see how much has gone through. So you can really still see the blue and everything. All right. So put it on there, scrape it off, and that's all you need to do. All right, and the rest will go back in here. My little press and seal technique. If you don't have press and seal in your area, just put a piece of plastic or saran wrap or something over the top of your pastes, and that will help keep them from drying out too quickly. All right, so then you want to wash off your knife or wipe it off or whatever, so that way it doesn't dry on there. On the stainless steel knives, it'll clean up. Even on the plastic ones, it'll clean up okay, even if it dries on there. But it's just best to get it clean to start with. All right, so we can set this aside to dry, or if you're feeling a little impatient, which like I am, when I read the side of this jar, it says fully dry in 1.5 to 2 hours. I'm not waiting for that. So most of the time I won't wait. I'm too much in the midst of a project. I want to move on to the next section. So I'm going to just go ahead and heat set this. It is going to bubble, but the bubbles will flatten out once it dries. All right, so this is not completely dry, but now the surface of it is dry enough that I can touch it and work with it and not worry about it getting all over the place. All right, so that's good. I'm going to set that aside and let it finish drying while we work on our next parts. All right, so the next parts, and actually there's no stamping on this project today. Yay, sometimes I don't like to stamp. So we're going to do some more die cutting, and I love this idea. Okay, so two things here. One is my mega alphabets. A lot of times I get like alphabet die sets or worse yet, alphabet stamp sets. And that is just not me. Like I'm decided that I probably should get rid of all of my alphabet stamp sets and then not get any more. Because I never use them once I get them. And I'm not a scrapbooker. So anyway, alphabet die sets are kind of a different thing though, because you can use them to create different looks or to use shortened words. So like instead of saying U-Y-O-U, you could have just the letter U, and that works out really well. And especially the mega alphabets, these are really great to have around because you can use them to mix up your other sentiment sets. All right, so in this case, we're going to take the Mega T. And do you like the way that I have this set up? This is from Lydia over at Altenew. She got me on this kick. So you take all of your mega dies and you put them in alphabetical order. Like if you don't have it, you just skip one. You put a little plastic packaging in here, and then you put a hole in it and a little binder ring, whatever kind of binder ring you have. And then you have your whole alphabet together. You don't have to worry about losing any of your letters. They're all together. Obviously, I don't have the entire collection. I have ones that I would use often. So like T for thank you, right? So that's always a good one to have. W for welcome, U for just YOU. There's a couple of other ones in here. E, I don't know why I have an E. It must have come from a kit or something. I have the J and the O. The O is just nice for just a circle or an oval shape too. Anyway, I don't have the whole set, but I have the ones that I would use the most. All right, so we're going to use the Mega T. I'm just throwing things over to the side today. And then we also have the Bold Thanks die set. This is a really cute one because it's got the shadow piece, and it's got the individual letters that go on top of it. So they work together like so. All right. So on the thanks, we're going to do this guy here. And we're going to do the Mega T. Yeah, so Anne says that the megas are also good for monogram cards, which is totally true. So especially like some of the off letters that don't really go with a particular sentiment. Like the N. That would be good for me. All right, so these first two, I'm going to go ahead and die cut. So those are ready to go. And then my third piece to die cut is the detail on the thanks. And I'm going to use another piece of that same blue foil paper. This is still available from Basil. It is really gorgeous. It's been around for a couple of years now, which I find really surprising. A lot of times paper like this cycles through really quickly, but they still have it available. A really beautiful shade of an aqua blue. All right, so I have a piece of double-sided adhesive sheet on the back of this guy. All right, so this guy is ready to go. It's going to stick right on this when we're ready for it. And that's it. So we take care of all of our die cutting at the same time. Set this guy aside. Okay, so I'm going to do another fun embossing or another paste technique. So this is not called embossing paste. This is the grit paste from Tim Holtz and Ranger. And it is translucent and it leaves a gritty feeling on things. Okay, so a gritty texture. So here we go. I've got my T and my thanks shadow. On this one, I need to put a piece of plastic over it too. And I'm going to use my palette knife again, just taking a little bit. And you see how I'm keeping them inside of the paper. You can do it this way, or you can take them out either way. But I did put another a piece of silicone on the back here, so if I make a mess, it just makes a mess here. I'm just going to put a thin coat of the grit paste over the letter, over a big monogram. And then I'm going to put some of the grit over the thanks. All right, so really thin layer. Let me show you what that looks like. All right, so it's pretty thin on there. You can still see the blue through there. It is going to dry clear, so, or mostly clear for that matter. And just clean everything up again. And these I'm going to heat up. Again, you can let these air dry. Because it's such a thin layer on here, it should dry pretty quickly, but you can heat dry these two. And it'll give it a little bit of extra texture when you heat dry them, because it will bubble up just a little bit. Okay. So now that these are mostly dry, I can go ahead and pop them out. The reason I did it this way is so that way I had something to hold on to when I was putting the paste on. And then, you know, I didn't get my fingers in it. It's easier to kind of keep it under control. All right. And you can just kind of work some of those edges off if they stuck on a little extra. But it looks like sandpaper. It's really cool. All right, and then same with this. Basically, the paste sealed it around the edge, but because it was already cut, it just releases pretty easily. So take your time if you choose to do it this way. There you go. You can save these for another project if you like the look that's going on here. All right, this looks like a nice little stencil style, something that you could completely use for another project. See that you could do the things this way if you wanted to. All right. All right, so there's a little bit of extra junk here. You can just kind of work it off with your finger. There we go. All right, see, I didn't make too much of a mess that time. So there we go. And we will go ahead and apply these. Now, here's the thing. We don't need the T because we already have the big T. So we really only need the hanks. So there we go. To grab my pokey tool to help place these. So putting them on the tool like this is helpful because it keeps my hand out of the way and I can see a little bit better how everything lines up. And you can use it gently on the edges here to just kind of push it and move it where you need to, and then give it a good press. Make sure it sticks on there well with the double-sided adhesive on the back. Right. This is a cute little die. It's a nice size and it's a really nice script. You can use it in conjunction with an actual script. So you could cut off the S and say thank you and have like a scripty U underneath. It would be really pretty. I find this one to be very versatile die. You can use the letters without the shadow piece. All sorts of different things you can do with this one. All right, and then we'll just add the H. We don't need the T. All right, so there we go. Good to go. And I'm going to do a little bit of surgery here. So remember, we got the T, we only need the hanks. So what are we going to do with this extra little piece? I'm just going to fussy cut off what I don't need. So I'm going to use the rest of the spacing as a guide and just cut down off the edge here. Right, and you can even snip off the corner a little bit to make it rounded like the rest of it is. And then I just need to come across the top. Like so. And it will look completely intentional. All right, so again, you can, if you want to just nibble on these little corners, teeny, teeny, tiny nibble to give it a little rounded effect. All right, so there it looks perfect. All right. And then when you put those together, then you've got your things. All right, that's it, guys. Let's put it on a card base. So this is one of my favorite ways to change up your card bases. Instead of doing a top fold like this, flip it on its side and do a side fold that is long. I think it's a really nice look. And it helps this piece here to just kind of shine a little bit better. So like when you think about like how the light will hit it, if you had it angled, like if you had it top fold open, it would angle the card a little differently, right? It would angle the card this way. But because you've got it side fold, it's going to angle the card a little differently, and that's just how the light's going to hit it. And it gives it just a little bit of a different effect. All right, so this is super easy, guys. We're just going to glue it up. So if you love your embossing folders, but you've been feeling a little bored with them, this technique will really do wonders to bring them back to life and help you enjoy all of the embossing folders you have in your collection that much more, right? You can explore different color combinations. Using the white is very basic, obviously, but it looks really great with the metallic because it mats out the center here and it gives a little bit of a different focus, right? You can use stencils on top of your embossing folders. You do all sorts of different things with this look, for sure. So there we go. We're just going to pop that right on there. I'm not even going to pop it up. We're just going to glue it all on. With this embossing folder in particular, be mindful of your lines. So when you emboss it to begin with, if it ends up a little wonky or you emboss it slightly larger than what you need, make sure that when you're cutting it down, you're getting your lines parallel and perpendicular. Otherwise, it will look a little off kilter. All right. Of course, things take just a little bit longer to dry on foil paper. So if it's starting to pop up a little bit like that, I'll show you what we can do. You can use a mix of adhesive and glue dots. That always works well. You can also do what I'm going to show you here in a second. All right, so see, there we go. We've got our thanks. And while we're finishing, I'll just take a large acrylic block and just pop it on top. And that just helps give it enough weight to get it contacting the paper so that it will dry. All right, so the last thing I'd like to do is add a little bit of extra bling on here. I mean, as if it doesn't have enough texture. I thought I would add some enamel dots in a contrasting color. So we've got gray. We just put a little bit of neutral on here, even though technically the navy is fairly neutral. All right, there we go. And what I thought I would do is just take some of these dots and put them over the circuits, so that way it kind of mirrors what's going on there. And it all depends on how you have your piece on here, if you're using this circuit design, where you might put them. So like there's these over here. And you can just kind of shuffle them around with your edge of your finger here just to get them in the right place. If you wanted to do something really bright, you could use like yellow on here. That would look really, really great. I wanted to do something a little more subtle though, so I went for the gray. And then I think I'll put like 3 up here. And then I'll show you what the original looked like because I ended up in a different place. There. So here's what the original looked like. So see, I was able to get some on the white here, and then I had the 2 over here. And on this one, I did 2 here and 3 up there. If I want to, I could add, you know what, I could add 2 more down here. Let's do that. Why not? I'll go with these lighter ones here. So you can really see that against the white. Gorgeous. And there you go. Really, really great card. As you can see, it does not take long to do. You can speed it up a little bit by doing some heat setting along the way. Let me give you a close-up of the grit here so you can see the texture on that. Really, really nice. You can see just a little bit of the texture behind on the shadow pieces, but I really love the way this turned out. And you can see like these little bubbles here. That's because I decided to dry it with my heat tool. It did pop these up a little bit, but I gave it that extra great texture. So now you got like texture all over the place. It's really, really nice. Yeah, so something without flowers, something that really appeals to anybody really who's into technology or anything like that, especially with the circuits in the background. But you can use any embossing folder and really change up the look. You could do the same thing with the thanks, but when you change up the embossing folder in the background, you're going to get a really different look. So there we go, guys. A really quick one for our last class this month. I hope you guys have a wonderful couple of weeks. For those of you in the United States, I hope you have a fantastic Thanksgiving and that the weather is great. And if you're planning on traveling anywhere, that you travel safe. I know we've got some friends in the chat here that are going to be making some big travels, and I hope that they enjoy themselves as they cross the ocean and have a great time exploring everything that the Queen Mary 2 has to offer. So exciting. I won't tell you who it is. She knows who she is. Anyway, I'm so glad that you guys joined me today. If you would, on your way out, if you loved today's episode, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. If you have some crafty shopping to do, of course, please use my affiliate links. I do appreciate it every time you shop using my links. It helps to support this channel and all of the free content that I bring you every week. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining me today. Stay warm, stay cozy, enjoy the holidays, and I will see you in December. Until then, happy crafting.